My friends, good day. I'm here about the Quentin Deranque case. Violence in France has escalated, has taken a completely vile turn, which shows that every time we think we've hit rock bottom, well, there's still more. There's always something else that comes along to show us that, well, yesterday we were criticizing, but it wasn't as bad as today, which means we're on a downward trajectory. So the media talk about a brawl. A brawl is a way, it's a term that allows you to put everyone, the attacker, the aggressor, and the victim, to put them morally on equal footing. Because a brawl suggests an exchange of blows. That's how it started. We don't really know who started it. There you go. We have to look into it, investigate, and that allows the reality of the events to be concealed. Because when we look at the surveillance cameras, we can actually see that it's a deadly assault. We see that there's a militia that pounced on someone on the ground like hyenas. There were at least 5 or 6 of them attacking him, with at least half of them targeting his head to achieve the result they did, which is a fatal outcome. And clearly, here there is premeditation. I'm not even talking about premeditation when he's on the ground. I'm talking about premeditation. Even before they arrived at the scene, even before they left their home, I'll tell you what happened that day. Actually, Quentin Deranque, to introduce him quickly, is a young Catholic, 23 years old, a mathematics student, and a musician. In his spare time, we're not talking about a militiaman who fought in Ukraine or a former member of the Foreign Legion. We're talking about an intellectual. More than anything else, he finds himself in this mess for reasons that are still not very clear. There are versions that are disputed by different people. It seems that according to some, he was part of a security detail, while others say he wasn't. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But in any case, it doesn't change the fact that all of this always brings us back to someone who is on the ground and being attacked by a group of people. They're filming with a phone because when you look at the footage and zoom in, you see a certain number of white pixels at a certain point. You can see them very briefly, but it indicates that one of the attackers was holding a phone pointing downward. And those white pixels correspond to the image or the reflection on the screen. So I hope the police will come across it, but the police made an extremely serious mistake. So serious that I think deep down I say mistake, my friends, but I'm telling you this out of moderation. In reality, I think it was a gift given to the attackers. Why? First of all, the political leanings of the magistrates' union are well known, so of course you have to expect this kind of thing. When there's a crime, the first few hours are absolutely essential. During those first hours, evidence is collected, people are brought in, interviews are conducted, people are taken into custody, searches are carried out. As quickly as possible, simultaneously, this way we capture the freshest possible evidence for the investigation and in the case we're interested in. 4 days later, we had to wait 4 days, so we gave the killers a 4-day head start. To give them time to erase their tracks, erase any videos if there were any, coordinate with each other, wash up, change their clothes, create an alibi, coordinate with their families. All of that is absolutely unforgivable because that's how we end up in situations where justice may never truly be served. Now, let me tell you something, and this is where it gets particularly vile. This group, through at least one of its members, was connected to or close to the LFI party. Why? Because one of them was the assistant of a member of parliament. So there you go. Let's imagine, just to draw a parallel, let's imagine that, for example, there was a parliamentary assistant of Marine Le Pen who had killed someone with his bare hands over a political disagreement. I'll let you imagine the shitstorm that would have caused today. But here I feel like the media are a little too calm for the situation. What's worse is that when you look at brawls, allow me to use that word with all the context I mentioned earlier, when there's a fight, sometimes someone gets hit, just one hit, and then they fall, they hit the ground, they hit their head, and they're dead. That's why when you watch those slap matches, I admit I watch them from time to time, It might be one of the few sports that has kept all its authenticity. Well, if you look behind the person getting slapped, what do you see? There are always at least two strong guys there to catch him. Why? It's to keep him from falling backward, losing consciousness, and hitting his head. That's what often kills people. It's the Merrick case. Do you remember that young Antifa? It was about a dozen years ago. Time flies. About a dozen years ago when it happened. He hit someone on the back. The guy turned around, punched him in the face. He fell straight down, dead. You see, that's terrible. I'm not trying to excuse the one who killed him. Again, I'm not ideologically biased, but it's not the same in terms of how it happened. Factually, it's not the same thing in the sense that Merrick took a single blow and dropped dead. So there's a disproportion between the guy who threw the punch and the one who fell down dead. But at the same time, here in the Quentin Deranque case, we have someone on the ground with several people attacking him. There's clear brutality. There are at least, I counted, it's very hard because you have to enlarge the video, which I'll spare you. Besides, we enlarge the videos. We look at the number of attackers and we get to 5 or 6 still against a single person. The way the person is surrounded while they're on the ground suggests to us that there are at least 2 or 3 assailants near the head. Why? Because they are at two ends of the body. There are 2 or 3 on one side and 2 or 3 on the other. They all hit at the same time, so those who were at the head delivered the fatal blows. Of course, that doesn't lessen the guilt of those who were on the other side. But just to tell you, we're dealing with the desire to kill. Let me tell you something else that shows there was premeditation and premeditation. I'm not talking about the moment when the victim was on the ground or in the minutes before. No, I'm talking while the attackers haven't even arrived at the crime scene yet, the attackers are still at home, there is already premeditation. Why their clothing, their outfit? They are dressed in a way that suggests they are looking for some kind of uniform. They are dressed the same way, the same jackets, pretty much the same pants. And actually, this very well-known approach is a way to fool surveillance cameras so that you can't tell who's who identified whom. Of course, this approach shows that they came with the intention of committing an illegal act that could potentially be analyzed by surveillance cameras. So we are clearly thinking about the act that led to the death of young Quentin. Just to let you know, this way of doing things is completely stupid. Why? Because today, with detection methods, just a slight color variation, a small shift is enough to separate them, to distinguish them. So dressing the same way and matching their outfits is more something that signals they're premeditating, but it's not something that will protect them. You know, I did something. I didn't want to be unfair. With the LFI, even if we're not on the same political side, I'm actually further left than the LFI. I'm from the real left. Actually, I'll talk to you about it in a minute. Well, I did some research. I looked up LFI demonstrations to see if maybe this party, its members all dressed the same way. Maybe it had nothing to do with the assault. Well, no, I saw plenty of protests. And the people from LFI dressed normally. In green, in red, in blue, all the colors are there. I can show you pictures. So clearly we're in a situation where these people dressed up specifically for the occasion. The occasion was clearly to kill. So just to tell you, the LFI. For me, from my political perspective, it's a scam. Because that's not the real left. The real left is the left of oppression that defends the oppressed. That defends, when I say the oppressed, be careful, I mean economic oppression. The left, the concept of left and right historically is rooted in a materialist system, not an ideological one. It's the left that defends the worker, that defends the proletarian. It's the left of social struggle, the struggle between social classes. Understand this well, the struggle against domination, the struggle against alienation. But all of this, all these struggles I just talked to you about are struggles that have been replaced by the gender left, the climate left, the pronoun left, that kind of left. If they had existed in the 17th century, they would have seen a slave and said, we need to let him use whatever pronoun he wants. The problem for the slave is that he has an issue when he uses pronouns. Sometimes they're not recognized, or the slave He has a problem, which is that he works in the cotton fields while the weather is very hot. So there's a climate problem affecting the slave. All right, that's not the real left. That's not the real left. That's just nonsense. That's the soy left they've created for you today. All right, not serious. So, to finish, my friends, I just want to tell you something. You know me, I have plenty of friends who are cops. Sometimes they share videos with me. Recently, I got a video of a line of riot police. The guy, the cop, was filming from behind the line of riot police, a big protest, clashes, whatever you want. They had water cannons with them up top, all that. I can tell you one thing. Through the screen, you feel the violence, you feel the tension, you feel the energy. These are people who are trained, they have batons, they have helmets, they have special gear, they have trucks, they have a lot of things. Sometimes they even have helicopters patrolling the area. Despite everything, they still get surrounded, beaten, and sometimes end up in the hospital. Okay, so if you're just a civilian and you show up like that in a tense moment and you just want to go fight or go protect, I don't know who, honestly, I'm telling you. Don't have any pride in these situations. Turn around and get out, okay? Because even the riot police, sometimes they back off, they run away, okay? They run away and they know where to stop, they know when to come back. That knowledge is very important. Otherwise, clearly, if you run into thugs like that, you get killed. So thank you, my friends, for this video. Thank you for watching until now. It's pretty awful, really, it is. There are groups, once again, that have been banned for much less than this, but I don't think this will go very far. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.